Hello everyone. So today we are going to talk about martingales. Before we formally define what's a martingale, we need to know a couple more terms. So let me first introduce those. So we will start with a term called filtration. Okay. So what is a filtration? Let me first write down the definition and then we'll discuss. So let omega f p be a probability space. So omega is some set, script f is a sigma field consisting of subsets of omega, and p is a probability measure defined on script f. A filtration ft, a filtration f script t greater than or equal to 0 is a collection of sub sigma fields of script f, is a collection of sub sigma fields of script f such that s less than t implies fs is subset of ft, and this is for every st. Okay, so basically what we are saying is, first of all, it's a collection of sub sigma fields of script f, which means that every ft is a sigma field and each of them is also a subset of script f. And adding to that, we are also saying this, which means that this is an increasing collection of sub sigma fields. So as s is less than t, then fs should be subset of ft. So if suppose I am talking about discrete time, then if this is my f1, then f2 is bigger than that, f3 is further bigger than that, and so on. Okay, so this is an increasing collection of sub sigma fields of script f. Okay, now where do we need this, or why do we need this? So this script ft is kind of like history of a stochastic process with which it is associated. Okay, so let me try to make this statement more clear. So consider some stochastic process defined on omega fp. So consider a stochastic process yt defined on omega fp. Okay, yt is a stochastic process defined on omega fp. Now if I define ft as sigma field generated by all y's such that u is between 0 to t. Okay, so what I am doing, I am defining ft as a sigma field generated by all y's. What do I mean by this? So if suppose I am talking about discrete time stochastic process, okay, if I talk about discrete time stochastic process, then I can maybe define f1 as just sigma of y1, assuming that my process starts from y1, so yt t belonging to set of natural numbers, let's say. Then f2 would be defined as sigma of y1 comma y2. Okay, so it is a minimal sigma. What is sigma of y1 comma y2? Again, if you recall your probability theory result, it would be sigma y1 union sigma y2, but then this need not be a sigma field, so you have to take sigma of that. Okay, so you take sigma field generated by y1, sigma field generated by y2, take the union, means include all those sets which are either in sigma y1 or sigma y2, but then that may not remain a sigma field, so make it a sigma field by taking minimal sigma field generated by that collection. Okay, so in this way you can define for a discrete time stochastic process. For continuous, it would be slightly more difficult to write down, because instead of just two sets, you will have okay, let me still try to write. So if suppose I had a continuous time stochastic process for a continuous time stochastic process, what would I do? I would define f t is as union over sigma of yu, where u is between the interval 0 to t, and of course this need not be a sigma field, so I have to take sigma of that. Okay, sigma of this union. Is it okay? Now this becomes an uncountable union. Here in the discrete time it's a countable union, but in continuous time this would become uncountable union, because you are considering all possible values of u between 0 and t, the interval 0 to t. Okay. Okay, so we are defining ft as this. Is it a filtration? This is our question. Okay. So for something to be a filtration, we need two conditions. First, every ft should be a sub-sigma field of script f. Now because the stochastic process is defined on f, every sigma field generated by each of the random variable would be a subset of f. So that part is done. So the union would also be subset. So that part is done. And now, is it an increasing sequence? That is next question. Now because of how we defined it just now, we can see here that f1 is subset of f2, because it already contains sigma y1, and in addition to that it has something else. Similarly, f3 would have sigma y1, sigma y2, and in addition to that sigma y3. So it would already have f2. Okay. So by definition it becomes an increasing sequence. Okay. So this is one example of a filtration, and in fact this is known as natural filtration for this particular stochastic process. So natural filtration associated with the given stochastic process. Okay. Now we need to introduce another term, adapted. So a process being adapted to a filtration. So what do I mean by this? So if we have a filtration and a stochastic process both defined on the same sigma field, then we say adapted to a filtration, or basically a better way to say this would be adapted process. So let xt t greater than equal to 0 be a stochastic process defined on omega fp. Okay. Further, let ft t greater than equal to 0 be a filtration on omega fp. So both have to be on the same probability space, otherwise we can't say anything. Then the process xt ideally I should write x bracketed t, because I am allowing for continuous time also. For continuous time we generally don't write subscript, we write in a bracket. So then the process xt is said to be adapted to filtration ft if xt is measurable with respect to ft for every t. What do I mean by that? So x1 should be measurable with respect to f1, x1.5 should be measurable with respect to f1.5, x2 should be measurable with respect to f2, and so on. Is it okay? If this happens, means if for every t xt is measurable with respect to corresponding ft, then we say that the process xt is adapted to this filtration ft. Is it okay with everyone? Okay. Now we defined a natural filtration here. So can we say that a process is always adapted to its natural filtration? See, the definition of ft itself has sigma of yt built in it, right? See, for example, in f1 I already have sigma y1, in f2 I have sigma y1 and sigma y2. So sigma y2 is already there. We know y2 is measurable with respect to sigma y2, and sigma y2, because of the definition of natural filtration, is subset of f2. So that would mean that y2 is measurable with respect to f2 also. Is it okay? Remember your definition of measurability. For measurability, what you need? For measurability of y2, for example, what we need is every inverse image of every Borel set under y2 should be in f2. And we know by definition of sigma y2, inverse image under y2 of every Borel set is already in sigma y2, and hence it is in f2. So y2 is measurable with respect to f2. Okay. Now this tells me, and this is true for continuous time also, because we are taking sigma of yt already in ft, every process is adapted to its own natural filtration. Okay, let me write that down. It's an important result. Every process is adapted to its natural filtration. Okay. Okay, so this gives us another term, filtered space. Okay, so if ft is a filtration, if ft is a filtration on a probability space omega fp, then omega f ftp is called as filtered space. Okay, omega f ftp is called as filtered space. Now we have to define martingale using these terms. What's a martingale? Basically it's a stochastic process satisfying certain properties. So let us first write down the definition and then we will discuss. Okay. Okay. So let xt t greater than or equal to 0 be a stochastic process defined on a filtered space, omega f ftp. Okay, now we say that xt is a martingale if there are three conditions. First one is expectation of mod xt should be finite for every t. Okay, expectation of mod xt should be finite for every t. Secondly, xt is adapted to the filtration Ft. Xt is adapted to the filtration Ft. And third condition is important. Third condition says expectation of Xt given Fs with respect to this probability space, with respect to this probability measure P, is same as Xs almost surely for every S less than T. Okay, so what we are saying, conditional expectation of Xt given Fs is same as Xs, that is value of the process at that point S. Okay, see, generally this filtration, yesterday when we discussed the conditional expectation, we saw that if a random variable is measurable with respect to a certain sigma field, then it means that given that sigma field, everything becomes known about that random variable, right? So similarly, in this filtration, when I say that Xt is measurable with respect to Ft, that is, when we say that Xt process is adapted to Ft, as a result, if Ft is given, it means Xt becomes known. Are you following? So because Xt is adapted to Ft means Xt is measurable with respect to Ft. So if Ft is given, Xt becomes known. And we also know that the filtrations are increasing. I mean, the filtration is a sequence of increasing sigma fields. As a result, when Fs is given, everything which is small, every Fr, R less than S is also given because Fr is subset of Fs. Hence, everything about the process would become known up to time point S. Okay. So when you say given Fs, it means that history of the process is known up to time point S. Why? Because Xt is adapted to this filtration. And now we are saying, so given history till time point S, the value, conditional expectation of Xt becomes Xs, that is the latest known value. That is the definition of martingale. Okay. A classic example of martingale is a fair game. What do I mean by that? So suppose two people are playing games, say person A and person B. They are playing game, and the game is, you toss a coin. If the coin turns heads, then A receives 1 rupee, means B gives A 1 rupee, and if the coin is tail, then A gives B 1 rupee. Okay, suppose this is the game, and suppose the coin is unbiased, so you have probability half. Now in such a case, the amount of money, assuming that say both start with the same amount initially, let's say both start with 10 rupees, then the amount of money either of them has at a certain time point T, that becomes a martingale process. Why? Because if you know, say at the end of 10th trial, let me say X10, this is amount of money owned by person A. Okay. Now suppose X10 is say 5. So suppose at the end of 10th toss, the person has 5 rupees. Now what can happen about X11? What would be X11 given X10? Now value of X11 is, the person can either gain 1 rupee or lose 1 rupee, and both happen with equal probabilities. So it would be original X10 plus 1 into half minus 1 into half, either gaining 1 rupee or losing 1 rupee each with probability half. So it becomes X10. So given X10, the conditional expectation is X10 itself. Okay. So that is what I mean when I say that in any fair game, the outcome or of a single person at say tth time point, that process becomes a martingale. Okay. So gambling, lot of applications of martingale are in gambling also. Okay. So now we have defined martingale. There are a couple of implications of this definition. See, we are saying expectation of xt given fs is xs. As a result, what can I say about marginal expectation of xt? It would be expectation of xt given fs, correct? And because expectation of xt given fs is xs, it is same as expectation of xs, and this would hold for every s less than t. Okay, so basically if xt is a martingale, then expected xt becomes constant. Okay, this is an interesting property. So martingale process would have stationary mean. It would be a mean stationary process. Mean would be constant. Okay. There are other two similar concepts known as sub-martingale and super-martingale. So what are they? First two conditions remain the same. There is change only in the third condition. So for sub-martingale, the third condition is expectation of xt given fs should be larger than or equal to xs. Okay, so instead of exact equality, we say larger than or equal to. Okay, and a super martingale. So just like sub martingale, we have super martingale also. A super martingale says expectation of xt given fs should be less than or equal to xs. Okay, how do you remember which one is less and which one is more? So a useful quote to remember this is, life is like a super martingale. So as time progresses, your expectations go on decreasing. Okay, so as you have more and more experience in life, you expect less and less from people around you. Okay, so life is a super martingale. That's an easy way to remember that in super martingale you have decreasing sequence, whereas in sub martingale you have increasing sequence of expectation. Because if you take expectation on both the sides, you will get expected xt is greater than or equal to expected xs for sub martingale, and expected xt less than or equal to expected xs for super martingale. Okay, so these are two similar concepts, sub and super martingale. Now let us take one small example. Okay, so we will try to prove that Brownian motion is a martingale. Okay, Brownian motion is a martingale. That is, we want to prove, see, first two conditions are okay. So we can say it's a martingale with respect to its natural filtration. So when I say natural filtration, it automatically becomes adapted to it. So we don't need to worry about second condition. We also know that expectation of zt is 0 for every zt. So we don't need to worry about first condition. Okay, so let me take fs as the natural filtration. So ft be a natural filtration for Brownian motion. Because we are taking natural filtration, the adaptation condition is automatically satisfied, and because we know that expectation of zt is 0 for every t, the first condition is also satisfied. So we need to worry only about the third condition. So we need to compute expectation of zt given fs for s less than t. So what we know is, we know that increments are independent of each other. So if I can bring in some increment, then maybe I can take the term outside the expectation. So we can have zt minus zs plus zs given fs. I'm just adding and subtracting zs. Why? Because now I have zt minus zs, which is an increment, given fs, and the second term is zs given fs. I don't know if you noticed, we are using linearity of conditional expectation here. Okay, that's why we studied the properties of conditional expectation. So here we are using linearity of conditional expectation. Now because the process is adapted to its own natural filtration, zs would be measurable with respect to fs, and we again saw in the properties of conditional expectation that if something is measurable, it comes outside the expectation. So this becomes ZS. Okay, and ZT minus ZS is an increment. Fs is information up to S, so information up to this time point is known. Zt minus Zs is increment over this. So this is independent of the past, because we know that in Brownian motion increments are independent of each other. So this is independent of the past. So the conditional expectation simply becomes marginal expectation. Again, the property of the conditional expectation, and we know increments have zero mean. So this becomes 0 plus Zs. Okay, so we have proved that expectation of Zt given Fs is Zs, and hence Brownian motion is a martingale. Okay, let me take another example. Discounted stock price process in a binomial tree model. Discounted stock price process in a binomial tree model, that is also a martingale. What do I mean by discounted stock price process? Stock price we denote by ST, and we have to discount for the time, so e raised to minus RT. Okay, so e raised to minus RT. Discounting is you have to adjust for the time factor. So this process becomes a martingale. Again, if we consider natural filtration, first two conditions are automatically satisfied. So we have to compute e raised to minus RT ST given, let me say just one value before. So let's say given ST minus 1. Okay. So what would this be? E raised to minus RT is anyway constant, so it would be outside. So this would be expectation of ST given ST minus 1. Now, we know that in a binomial tree model, there are only two possibilities. ST minus 1 can become either U times ST minus 1 or D times ST minus 1. I didn't mention with respect to which probability measure. So we will take here the risk neutral probability measure. Okay, with respect to the risk neutral probability measure, because we don't know much about the real world probability measure, but you can try. So this becomes P U ST minus 1 plus 1 minus P D ST minus 1, correct? U into ST minus 1 and D into ST minus 1 are the only possible values, and with probabilities P and 1 minus P. So now we have to substitute what is P and what is 1 minus P. So this becomes P is e raised to R minus D upon U minus D. We are assuming unit time, so I am not writing time here. We are assuming that the interest rate has been adjusted for this unit time. So this is P into U ST minus 1 plus 1 minus P is U minus e raised to R upon U minus D D ST minus 1. ST minus 1 is common, I can take it outside. So I'll be left with e raised to R U minus UD plus UD minus e raised to R D upon U minus D. Okay, so this is e raised to minus RT ST minus 1, UD goes away. I will have just e raised to R because U minus D would get cancelled, and this is e raised to minus R T minus 1 because minus RT plus R ST minus 1, and so if I call this as YT, then this is exactly YT minus 1. Okay, so discounted stock price process is a martingale with respect to the risk neutral probability measure in a binomial tree model. Okay, so we have seen a couple of examples of martingale. We have defined what's a martingale. Please go through the definition once again and try to find some other examples of processes which are martingale. Okay, let me stop here. Thank you.